My name is Shannon Cronin. I'm a UNT alumni. I graduated from UNT with my MS degree in Applied Anthropology in August of 2020, so not that long ago. I'm currently working as the Disaster Recovery Services Coordinator for the Salvation Army Midland Division. So we cover disaster recovery efforts through Salvation Army in all of Missouri and the southern half of Illinois. I wanted to talk a little bit, very briefly, about my career trajectory and how I got here. I was a non-traditional student, and so I started college when I was 18, and it just didn't work out for a variety of reasons. Mostly I wasn't ready. So I decided to work until I figured out what I wanted to do. So a couple of my positions I wanted to talk about, I worked for Americorps, which is a great program. If anyone is interested in it, I would advise you to look it up. My first year with Americorps, I worked with the Nevada Conservation Corps doing trail building, habitat restoration, and invasive species removal, where I learned a lot about the environment. And my second term or year with the Americorps was I worked for a disaster rebuilding organization in New Orleans that was still they were rebuilding homes for those impacted by Hurricane Katrina, and this was 10 years later. So I finished out my term with them, and I was hired on as staff. And in 2015, San Marcos, Texas had a major flood, and there was a 4-county area that was impacted directly that my organization was interested in going out to assist. I was asked to go to Texas to set up an affiliate of our organization, a disaster rebuilding operation there to help rebuild homes. And that was a very challenging and rewarding position, but it also highlighted to me how much I needed anthropology in my life and in my work, and how much anthropology could benefit. So I decided after I finished out my contract for that position to go back to school, finish my bachelor's degree, and then go onward with anthropology. When I was finishing up my bachelor's degree, I took a class in applied anthropology, and it made me very interested in I took a class in applied anthropology, and I was fascinated. So when I decided I wanted to go on towards my master's degree, I looked for that specific program, and I found UNT, which I'm very happy with. UNT provided a lot of opportunities for me, specifically towards research and extracurriculars. So I'm still part of the SFAA podcast team. I conducted my master's thesis research in Kathmandu Valley, Nepal on earthquake reconstruction. I worked with Dr. Watson and Dr. Nelson doing research on the experiences of resettled immigrants and refugees in the US from Southeast Asia. And also with Dr. Watson, I was working on community archiving, digital archiving into indigenous communities in Northeast India. So I definitely had a lot of opportunity. So for this current position with the Salvation Army, I actually got this job during COVID. And it is basically all about disasters. So my job is a disaster recovery coordinator. I lead and manage all disaster services in Missouri and Illinois, and I'm responsible for long-term recovery programming related to COVID-19 and disasters resulting from hazards such as floods and tornadoes. I wrapped up some flood recovery. I just wrapped up the flood recovery from the 2019 flood, and we've had some minor tornadoes, but nothing to the disaster scale yet in terms of being declared disasters. So we're very fortunate this year. Unfortunately, with that said, COVID has impacted everyone. COVID is its own beast of a disaster. So that is the bulk of my work, is to provide disaster services in our division to everyone that needs it. So what I do in this role, I do a lot of grant writing. We write a whole bunch of grants. And part of grant writing is finding the grants, identifying grants, understanding how the programs would fit into the grants. And it's a lot of going back and forth and talking about it. So that's the crux of my role with grant writing. I've written local, state, and federal grants to increase our budget for recovery activities. And it has so far resulted in over $3 million in awarded grants. And we have a $2 million grant that's currently in contract right now. So we'll be adding that on. I do program administration. So it's not just getting grants in. You have to develop and implement the program around those grants to fit the requirements and do compliance. And make sure you're assisting as many people as possible with the funds that you have. So that's my job, is to kind of set those up, do the admin, make sure the staff are meeting, getting what they need to do their job and to help their clients. I also do program assessment. So I evaluate the overall success of the program, how it could be improved, how it can be better next time, and what kind of tweaks we need to make during the process. I use a lot of qualitative and quantitative analysis to do this, which is fun for me. I love analyzing programs and projects. Then another portion of my job is management. So I need to make sure that our staff are trained up properly. They understand what they need to do. I have about 6 disaster case managers here, which are social workers, specifically tailored for the disaster programs. So they work here at our headquarters, and then I have about 29 to, then I have about 30 to 35 case managers throughout our division that require assistance or oversight sometimes. So I make sure everything is running smoothly. They have what they need in order to provide aid to our clients. And then advocacy. Advocacy is a very important part of my job. COVID has affected pretty much everyone, especially amongst Black and Brown communities who are often more economically impacted. They're unable to afford utilities. They can't afford their rent. They don't have a job anymore. They had to give up their job because they can't afford childcare, or the childcare closed, the schools closed. They can't get a remote job position working remotely because they don't have the equipment they need to do so, or they don't have the training they need to do so. Everyone's been affected. So there have been a significant number of people that have been affected, and my job is to make sure that they're getting what they need. So with advocacy, especially towards housing advocacy, people in danger of losing their homes due to a variety of reasons, I work directly with landlords and property management companies, and on some occasions mortgage companies, to kind of figure out ways to help them as much as possible and to make sure they can keep their home. Unfortunately, the eviction moratoriums are not as much of a deterrent to evictions as one would think. So it's my job to make sure they are getting what they need to stay in their homes, that clients are getting what they need to stay in their homes. And I also work with several different organizations and groups and people to collaborate and make sure we can pull our resources together to help make this happen. So that's a little bit about my position and about my career trajectory. But I'd like to talk a little bit about kind of what you would need for a position, or when you're looking for a job or whatever you want to do in your future. So kind of the broad skill set you'll need. Some of the broad skills you'll need. The first is communication. You need to be able to communicate with anyone. Your clients, the communities in which you work, your boss, your peers, your coworkers, anyone. You should be able to communicate well to them to make sure that you're not misunderstood or misconstrued. and that your point is getting across. This is verbal communication, this is written communication, this is visual communication. Just kind of, if you feel like you're not a good communicator right now, kind of work on those skills, because it's very important to be able to, especially tell a story, because it's very important to be able to, I guess, tell a story is what you're doing when you're communicating. And that's a really vital skill to have in any position that you have. Collaboration. Collaboration is very important in any role. I know in college you do group projects and they don't always work well, but it's actually a good training opportunity to kind of learn how to work with people from different backgrounds or different fields of study who have different worldviews and different perspectives, because you're all working towards a common goal, because this will happen at some point in your future career where you will need to collaborate with somebody or a group of people to meet a common goal. Empathy is also very vital. Empathy is something that I use all the time in my roles, along with communication and collaboration. I need to be able to step back and put myself in somebody else's shoes to understand where they're coming from and what their needs are. And this isn't just the people that you're working for, your clients, the communities that you're working within. This is also everyone that you're working with, along with, or working for, or working under. So it's important to be able to see from somebody else's perspective and see where they're coming from, to understand your best approach and how you're going to approach things. Adaptability. Adaptability is also very important. It's important to be adaptable within your position. It's also very important to be adaptable with the changes that are occurring around you. So in my case, with the Salvation Army, with housing advocacy, policies are constantly changing. The eviction moratoriums are being extended in the county or federally. But there are changes in terms of qualifications, there are changes in terms of who is eligible to receive assistance. And so I try to keep up on that all the time and adjust as needed and make sure my case managers are adjusting as needed. Adaptability in research, in your roles, you need to have it no matter what. Basically, things are always going to change. There may be roadblocks or barriers put in place that you need to find ways to get around. Or you need to rethink how you're working and what your approach is going to be from that point. So that's a vital thing, vital broad skill to have. Reflexivity. You'll need to be able to reflect on your own actions and your own biases and your perspectives, and kind of recalibrate every now and then to make sure that you are doing the best for you and for everyone that you're working with. It's important to be reflexive because we all have our own biases, we all have our own different worldviews, and they may not always be of benefit to us or to the people that we're working with, or to the projects we're doing, or to the research we're doing. So we need to make sure that we're being reflexive constantly. We need to check in with ourselves, being like, am I doing this the way, am I doing this ethically? Am I doing this in a way that benefits myself, the people I'm working with, or for the project or the organization? And just make sure that you are being reflexive. So what can you do now? Seek out mentorship and networking opportunities. It's a good idea to, while you're in college, to take advantage of all the opportunities that college presents to you. So you have access to resources, you have access to people, professors, advisors, your peers, anyone. It's a great idea. Networking opportunities, social media has been a fantastic source for networking. There's LinkedIn. You can look up people that are interested in what you're interested in and reach out to them. Facebook, Slack, meetups, any other digital outreach platforms. There are so many available. There's so much information available. Learn skills that will help round out your experience as an anthropologist. During my master's program, myself and the majority of my cohort conducted a survey called the American Anthropology Master's Career Survey, where we looked at career trajectories of master's degree recipients in the past 10 or so years. We had 850 respondents, and the results were actually very interesting because a lot of the respondents cited that they felt they did not have enough technical skills to back up what they do as anthropologists currently. So talking about GIS or grant writing, so courses or skills like GIS and grant writing, things that they felt would help inform their experience as masters, as anthropologists, things that they felt would help grow as anthropologists and help them in their future positions or their current positions. So if you're interested in something and you feel like it might help you as an anthropologist, go ahead and take that course, go ahead and learn that skill. Again, work with your mentors or your networks to kind of help you gain those skills as well. Take advantage of opportunities. So if you see something that you're really interested in, but you're not sure, like imposter syndrome, you're not sure, take advantage of opportunities. So if you see something you're very interested in, like an internship or a scholarship or a research position, and maybe you don't know if you're going to qualify, I would say go for it anyway. Just do it. Imposter syndrome is real. Push through it. You're worthy. You're worthy. Take advantage of opportunities that you're not even sure about. If it's presented to you and you don't know if it quite fits your vision of yourself as an anthropologist, I'd say go ahead and try it. You never know what you're going to learn. You never know what skill set you're going to gather or what perspective you're going to gather that could benefit you as an anthropologist in the long run. So these are just some basic broad skills, and then some actions you can do now while you're still in school before you go out into the workforce. I'm happy to answer any questions during the Q&A session. I hope this has been a benefit to you, and thank you so much.